This is your AP Government video on arguments for and against interest groups. We're going to start with the case for interest groups. Remember, interest groups and the lobbyists that they employ also provide useful information. They get to educate voters. They do interest advertisements on various topics that they want people to vote about. And they also provide useful information to our elected members of Congress. Members of Congress cannot be experts on all the possible topics that on laws that they'll have to vote on. So when a bill comes up that they don't know a lot about, they have to seek out experts. And a lot of times lobbyists are those people. It also provides a means of democratic participation. Democracy by the people means that you have to be able to have a say in your government. Being a part of an interest group and participating with people based upon a topic area that you think is important is very democratic in nature. It also provides a means of representation for you based on interests you care about rather than the location of your home. As we talked about in an earlier video, all of our representation in the government is based upon the geographic area of your house. So if you care a lot more about 2 or 3 political topics, then being a part of an interest group or working on behalf or donating to those groups is the best way for you to get your interests expanded upon. We refer to this democratic representation as a linking mechanism. It's a linkage institution that allows you to get closer to your government and let your government know about which topics that you care about the most. There is a very strong First Amendment argument for interest groups and PACs. You have the right to speak your mind, which is freedom of speech, and you also have a right to freedom of expression. So you have the right to say what you want politically, but if you don't want to say it, you also have the right to donate money to somebody else or pay a lobbyist to do that freedom of speech for you. Now, today there's a lot more reforms, so when wealthy people or corporations are paying significant amounts of money in order to get certain laws passed that would benefit them and maybe not all of America, then at least it's public now. For the most part, hard money, we can see hard money donations and exactly who gave and which amounts. In the past, it of course was all dark money and it was secret and we didn't know who was for or against certain pieces of legislation. Madison talked a lot about this in Federalist number 10 about the case for factions and how he said that factions, were not great and they did have some side effects that were bad, but we can't get rid of factions because that would get rid of all liberty. So instead, we have to look at the negative side effects of factions and try to mitigate those as much as possible. He called this a remedy, the evils of factions. Now, there's lots of arguments that these types of interest groups and PACs are not good for democracy as well. Because rich and powerful interests, wealthy families, and corporations are far more represented, they can pay a lot of money to a lot of various lobbyists. And then the people that we've elected are more likely to listen to those particular donors than they are to us as average voters. That also means that middle class people, average voters who don't have any political will or who don't have the types of relationships you would need to get close to a member of Congress are very underrepresented in these discussions about which laws should be passed or not. You can say that that's very undemocratic. If every individual voter does not have the same say in an election because some people are more powerful or some people have more money, then the democracy is being imbalanced. You can also say that you can that safeguarding our individual liberties and our equality is often sacrificed because a lot of rich and powerful interests are in it to benefit themselves and not the majority of all citizens. A lot of times single issue groups can also lead to polarization. You get one group that's for something, another group that's against, and then it makes it seem like you have to have one or of the 2 options, when really in life there's more than 2 sides to every particular political issue. It is also a way to diffuse power. Again, if you don't like 2 political parties, then interest groups are ways to kind of diversify that interest And you can diffuse that power even more and more, which then makes it harder for you to gain majorities.